Hello, everybody. I am Peg Fitzpatrick, and this is my friend Jeff Sieh, and we are going to talk about storytelling for small businesses. This is the pop up social media success series that I've been doing. I think this is number 7. I have one more to go. So, hello, Jeff. Thank you for coming to my pop up.
Thank you. This is so much fun. I'm excited to be here. You're like doing this whirlwind tour for your book. I'm so excited to be a part of it.
Oh man, it feels like it's been going on forever, and then today is just like, what? Well, today feels like extra stressful. Here's
And
the book, everybody,
and I
if
was
you haven't
so
seen it yet.
I was so blown away because you sent me a copy that came yesterday, and I did not know that you mentioned me in the for. I mean, not in the for the acknowledgments. I appreciate that. I did not
You
was
are
not
welcome.
expecting that, but you highlighted my name, and that was really cool. Thank you for doing that. I'm very honored. I showed it off to Jody last night, going, "Look what she did." So it
You're
was really cool.
welcome. Well, you listened to me talk about it way back in the little baby stages
Mm.
when it wasn't even. I was like, should I write it? Shouldn't I write? I'm gonna write it. Well, no, I'm gonna not. I put it on pause. I'm working on my novel. No, I did a screenplay. Like I've done like a lot of things in the middle here, but this was,
That's
I
good.
really did want to get this out into the world, and I do thank you for your help and for listening. And I do like to highlight and show people it's in there because everybody doesn't always read the acknowledgments.
It was.
I
I
like.
mean, it was a good idea. I thought you just sent me the marker because like, oh, cool, mark it up, and I thought that was fun. And then I opened it up and I saw that you had done that, and also all the cool stickers that came with it. So that
Hmm.
was really fun. And
Did you
Jody even
like?
looked at it and went, "Oh my gosh, that's really thick." I'm like, "Yeah, it's Peg.
Oh,
She knows how to write."
I made it in Canva,
Yeah,
and I printed those in Canva too, by the
that's
way.
cool. Very cool.
Um, and did you like the Canva little Canva sticker?
Yeah, I thought they were cool. I really like the something about it was the marketing thing that it was like marketing is not an option kind of a.
Yeah,
I thought that was really clever. So I like that a lot.
yeah. Thank you. Okay, so now back to what we're here for, you guys. I sound echoey. Does it sound echoey to
Sounds
you?
good to me.
Ooh, maybe it's just my mic. I'm not going to touch my mic. I'm using my Yeti mic, which everyone advises against, but here I am using my Yeti
It
mic.
sounds good to me.
My
Hopefully, it sounds good to
uncool
everybody.
Yeti mic, even though I have a Shure mic. But the Shure mic is so long, it does not like fit in front of my computer, so I never use that one.
You need an arm like this. You can have it right.
I do need an arm, but then I was
Yeah.
like, do I really? I don't think I do. So, so we're gonna get on to our topic here, which is storytelling for
Mm.
social success, crafting visual stories that connect. So, Jeff, you are a master of storytelling and visual marketing. What drew you to this creative approach for connecting with audiences?
I think it all started. You both and I are theater nerds and kids, and so,
Totally.
I think it all started when when we started doing stuff when I did it in junior high and high school. Is that I realized people don't just remember facts; they remember how you make them feel. So I
Mm-hmm.
always loved a good story, whether it's like, campfire tale my dad would spin when we go camping, or a funny meme with a punchline that you makes you kind of maybe laugh, snort your coffee in the morning if you see something going through. In fact, that's what my kids. Most of our conversations is like funny dog and cat videos that they send back and forth. So
Mm-hmm.
I think storytelling and visuals work. Yeah, what did you used to say, like peanut butter and jelly for on
Yeah,
social
for
media?
Google Plus. I used to
Yeah,
say Pinterest and
yeah,
Google Plus were like peanut butter and jelly because
yeah.
they went.
So it's almost like peanut butter and chocolate. Like I love Reese's.
Mm,
So it's delicious on their own, but magic when you put them together. I
so
think it's the
good.
secret sauce for everything, for getting people to not just to see your content, but feel connected to it. And I think it's one of the things that brands kind of or small businesses kind of go, oh, I'm just going to put stuff out there, and they don't really think about the visual and the storytelling aspect
Mm-hmm.
to it.
It is. It's a challenge. So, who are your some of your favorite storytellers, and how have they influenced your perspective?
So I would say Walt Disney, hands
Mm-hmm.
down, because I mean, you think about one of the most creative companies out there, because he didn't just talk about stories; he built entire worlds. And then Pixar, which was separate from that, but now is owned by Disney. Those those people can make you cry over a lamp. Remember their lamp
Yeah.
that they first did,
Yep. Pixar's
that
Little Lamp.
little lamp that
So
jumped
cute.
in. Um,
And who wasn't when we were growing up? Every Sunday,
yeah,
everybody
Disney,
watched the wide
Wide
world,
World of Disney. Yeah,
wide world of
yeah.
Disney. Yeah, I mean, the little Tinkerbell came
Yeah,
in.
and did that. So I loved this. I mean, you did. It was you gathered around the TV and you watched that and then
Mm-hmm.
talked about it. And that kind of thing. So I loved what he did. He also was really wanted to hear from his audience, like how it affected them, and he would learn from them. It's all about emotion. You know, a little heartbreak.
Oh
Disney's
God,
famous for like for
Disney is
Bambi.
always like your
Uh,
mom's gonna die if
yeah,
you're in a Disney.
that's right. Or and same with Spielberg movies.
Yeah.
But some of the other ones like Donald Miller, he's a really great storyteller. There's some
Mm-hmm.
other people that I really enjoy learning from the stories. But I tell you, one of my favorite books still is Creativity Inc., which
Mm-hmm.
is the story of how Pixar was founded. So I think those kind of people, and then my dad, as a great storyteller, he was a preacher for over 36 years,
I
and
think
all
this is the first time you're admitting that you're a PK
no,
live.
I've talked about it before. I've talked about it because
Jeff
I
is a
mean,
PK, everybody.
because when he would get, I would watch him ever since I was in church every time the
Mm-hmm.
doors were open, but he wouldn't just like hammer home just scripture from the Bible, but he would talk about like stories and he'd weave that in and he'd use humor with that, and I think that really influenced me a lot as well.
Yeah. I would say two of my favorite storytellers, visual storytellers, Wes Anderson is so
Hmm.
amazing. And I don't know if I've ever talked about Wes Anderson movies, but you you cannot top him in a visual like everything in his whole.
His movies by just looking at it. You
Oh
could
yeah,
see a
he's
couple frames of it and you'd be like, oh, that's Wes Anderson. So
and he's not necessarily recognized award wise for what he does, but he has a cult following. He always uses the same actors. It's really cool. And then another one of my favorites is John Chu, who has Wicked coming out this week.
yeah.
But I love Crazy Rich Asians and In the Heights. Both of
Mm-hmm.
those were stunning. The wedding scene in Crazy Rich Asians. Did you ever watch that movie?
Yeah, my one that stands out from him was the pool scene. Was that it? With
Yeah,
the
the
yeah,
pool scene and In the Heights when they're
yeah.
it was like, oh, it was crazy.
So
So,
I wanted another one I didn't mention, and it's kind of weird for visual storytelling, but you can't have one without the other. And
mhm.
there's a really great documentary that just came out about this person over on Disney Plus, and it's John Williams. I
Mm,
loved his music,
mhm.
and it was really cool because Spielberg said, "I when I hear Johnny's music, I look at my movies in a different way. He
So do we.
influences me." Yeah. And so I'm like, and he was making the point like Jaws would not be what it would be without
Mm-mm.
that thing. And it's a fascinating way of, he tells stories with music. He,
Yeah.
he has those themes that like weave through it. And I love his stuff. So that's, if you haven't checked that one out, it's on Disney Plus. It's John Williams documentary. It's
I
so
haven't
good.
checked that out. I will
It's
check it
really good.
out. That reminds me, just that little piece that you're saying reminds me of another movie and visual storyteller they love, which is Nancy Meyers in The Holiday, when he's explaining the movie and the music, because one of the characters is a composer, and he says, "Name these two notes," and it's dun dun, and
Yeah.
then you're into the scariest
Yeah.
movie ever. And he
Yeah.
talks about right how the music fits the people and the
Hmm.
characters. And but Nancy Meyers is another one because her visual storytelling is so different because
Hmm.
she's a woman, and like every single thing in her set is like the room has to do with a character, and like the house looks like the character, and
Hmm.
the holiday especially, like Kate Winslet's in the little cottage, and then Cameron Diaz is in the big Hollywood, LA home, and just like how different the houses are represent them. And
It's really
it's
cool.
it
Yeah.
does really like inform a lot of the things that you do. And I saw some behind the scene things from Wicked where like every single thing in the scenes it's like labeled. It has, and he did that in The Heights too. Like in The Heights when they're in the salon, all the products are labeled, and they make it
Hmm.
like you're really in this other world. So you can imagine as an actor. I mean, Hollywood missed out on Jeff and I being in their movies, but
That's right. Yeah. Yeah, but we learned a lot from
they're
our stuff.
doing
Yeah.
okay without us. I don't know
Yes, they
how.
seem to be. They seem to be. Yes.
So yeah, I mean it's really interesting how storytelling is really visual and auditory. Like
Mhm.
there's a lot of aspects to it. So what do you feel makes a good story? What are the key ingredients that captivate audiences and keep them engaged?
So I think a good story has to be number one, relatable, and it's got to be surprising, and it
Mm,
has to be. I think it has to be emotional as well. So you think about every Pixar movie starts with this kind of ordinary character that you root for, and then I mean it's the story, the famous storytelling journey. Then it goes
mm-hmm,
into extraordinary circumstances, takes you along for the ride. You have tension. I like to lean into the humor stuff because I think
mm-hmm,
humor is something that we all want, and it's something that kind of gives empathy to the audience. And then you have this ending. And then, if you can do all those things, even in short form, we're talking about for small businesses, you know, sometimes you have to move things around and maybe have the hook at the beginning that really captures them. But if you
Mm-hmm.
think of the stuff you're putting out for your small business as a part of your story, I think that will help a lot. And then if you can sneak in a talking dog or a cowboy with abandonment issues, that's even better. So
Cowboy, just random cowboys.
yeah, just throw a cowboy in. Like, don't call him, call him not Woody, call him something else like Bob. Yeah.
So we have already mentioned Pixar, but they are definitely known for their incredible
hmm
storytelling. What lessons can small business owners learn from them for their own marketing?
So I think they have, if I can remember from the book, they have rules of storytelling. Make
Mm,
it personal, show the real messy human side of your brand, and I also think you got to remember Pixar is big, but this was a big deal. They were taking on classical animation. They were poo
mm,
pooed by everybody, and I think there's a place. I love classical animation. I love all those old ones, but they didn't play it safe. They didn't become where they are now because this was totally new technology. It took forever to render those scenes.
yeah.
Um, their stories work because they're very nostalgic and universal, but they're also deeply specific. You got a guy who floats his house with balloons and goes on this adventure, but has maybe probably the most emotional part of the movie where you're seeing that montage of his wife living life with him and then passing away. I mean, that one, you still hear that piano music that is so
Yeah,
famous, and you're just like, ugh,
that movie just
you know,
oh
yeah.
yeah,
So
that one does grab you.
and I think that small business need to figure out what their little tagline is too, because you think about Pixar, especially Toy Story, it's infinity and beyond. Everybody
Mm-hmm.
knows that. And so,
Mm-hmm.
what is your tagline that would work, that could encapsulate what you are about, your story as the small business in a little like tagline or something? And that takes some work to figure that out.
Yeah, it definitely does. To get before you can get your story, you really have to get down like kind of what your brand voice is and all those things. But the story of your brand doesn't always have to be so deep for a small business. It can be really like why you started making the jewelry that you make,
Mm,
or it can
hmm
be like, the story of like how you got started. I was thinking about my daughter's just going to beauty school and she's gonna start working on her personal brand. So I was like pre-thinking like what her story would be, for
hmm
her to because it's very hard to stand out in the beauty industry online. Obviously,
hmm
there's a lot of people and a lot of hairdressers already, they're already on there. So how do you like get people to, be interested in what you're doing? And part of the storytelling in the beauty industry is people love to see things from beginning to end. Like someone getting a haircut, they like the before and after. Like this is what the hair was before, this is what the hair is
hmm
after. Or like makeup tutorials, like the get ready with me makeup things are so popular because people are just fascinated watching like from the beginning of end to things.
hmm
There's a show that my husband likes to watch that's called How It's Made. Have you ever seen
Oh
that
yeah, I
show?
love it. It's a great show.
God,
Yeah.
he's obsessed with that show. But if we go back to Mr. Rogers, we loved watching when he would
That's
take
right.
us to the factory and we saw
hmm
how Crayola crayons were made. Like that
hmm
was really cool. Like Mr. Rogers was really
He knew
great
he was
at
doing. Yeah,
storytelling.
he
And
was.
he again, like he did the opposite of what everything else was on TV. He was like, I'm gonna slow it down. I'm gonna have some nice jazz music.
Right.
I'm
Unplug
gonna
the
have
piano. Yeah.
I'm gonna use some puppets and there's gonna be a little like it was very simple and the basic elements of his show never changed.
Right. And
He always
and it connected with people. They
yep.
loved it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean still it's like, oh, he's so good. So some of that like that you can work in like, for your small business, you don't have to recreate the wheel every time. You can just
Right.
create a thing and that can kind of be your thing. Like it doesn't have to be crazy.
hmm
Rethinking everything.
Yeah, I think one of the ways that the brands can like connect more and deeper with their audience. So I think it's you share stories that people can see themselves in. So I've
Mhm.
talked about them before, and they're still going, and they're still growing here in my local town of Longview. It's this place called Shivers, and they sell
Mm.
snow cones,
Mhm.
and they are going gangbusters. But she does such a good job of taking you along in their journey. Like for
Mhm.
example, I never thought about this, but it makes perfect sense. they moved. They used to sell out of an Airstream trailer. They now have that Airstream trailer, but also a building where people can go in and eat and stuff. Because it's snow cones, they were attacked by bees, like swarming bees
Ooh.
around everywhere. Which it's sugar waters, like that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so she was telling the stories of how she's trying to get rid of them. She's called beekeepers in, and so please don't go in here. That we made this space for you, and so she was sharing her struggles, and you could empathize with that. Like I would have never. I raised bees, but I never thought of like if I had a business, I have to be careful of this time of year because she says every year at this time this happens, and this was the worst year ever because we didn't have any rain and they were kind of
Mm.
starving.
Yeah.
So that drew you
And
in.
also bees, we need them, but
Yes, we need bees.
if it's crushing your small business, you got to come up
Yeah,
with a solution.
figure it out. But also,
Yeah.
she did another great thing where they just got able to show. They have these things called shiver sticks, which are these little things that they put in there. They were able to sell these now at home games at the Dallas Cowboys Stadium, which is
Wow.
huge. And so
Yeah.
she was like, she did a little reveal of something special, and she brought you along on that journey. And you
Mhm.
were rooting for this company because you were
Yeah.
like, this is great. This is really cool. So I think those kind of things, if you talk about challenges you faced and customers you've helped and wins that you've had,
Mhm.
people do not connect with logos. They connect with people telling their story. So I think, behind the scenes stuff you were talking about too, introducing your team. Don't
Mhm.
don't be scared to share a mistake or two. I mean,
Mhm.
I've had to do that a lot of times too. So, but I think that realness is really really huge for companies and small
Yeah.
businesses.
I definitely think it is too. And, small business owners have such a unique journey for their business because it's something that was like their idea. They came up with a whole concept. Obviously, they're super passionate about it.
Hmm.
So, stories coming right from the person whose idea it was. Even going back to Canva and the beginning of Canva. I mean, they still talk about their beginning journey because they're not a small business anymore, but
Hmm.
at the beginning they were a very small business and there was like three founders and
Right.
they founded it in Melanie's mom's living room and, the whole, basically this a very similar story to like Google starting in the
Right.
garage
Right.
in Silicon Valley.
Hmm.
Humble beginnings can be, really a great place to start. So I love small business owner stories and I think everybody loves seeing their
Right.
local people and learning it a little bit about the
Right.
who
Right.
they are. Um, so, how can small business owners use storytelling to humanize their brand and connect more deeply? So, what part would you think would help them? The verbal part or the visual part? Like, what do you think?
I mean, verbal's good if you can do it. I think the visual is maybe a little bit easier. So I think it's
Mm-hmm.
anything that sparks like emotion.
Mm-hmm.
So like something that gives a good laugh. I'll go back to Shivers again. What got me interested in their brand is they every year in front of their Airstream they would sell out every day because
Mm-hmm.
they have special like it's natural stuff and it's kind of that
It's hot in Texas all the
yeah, it's hot in
time,
Texas.
so.
But they'd sell out and they would always have on their Instagram post, they would always have a little kid with the last ice cream cone looking sad and saying sold out. And I just thought that was so clever. That was
Mm-hmm.
funny. It was nostalgic because it was like ice cream, or snow
Yeah.
cones and stuff. And it was funny because the kids would make face. And of course, all the parents and everybody who knew that kid would share it on their profile. So, I mean, it was brilliant how it resonated. So I think those stories, or even stories like we talked about the B thing, overcoming adversity, things
Mm-hmm.
that you were like aha moments, something special where you can show off a client, like going the extra mile for them. Like if you're a flower shop, going the extra mile for their wedding because they're out of these certain roses, so we did this instead to make it special for the bride, all that kind of thing. Being able to tell those stories of what you do, not just like I offer these services, I have these flowers, I do weddings, but telling stories around those, I think, is what's really key.
Right. So, what type of stories resonate the most? I think you just kind of covered that
Hmm.
and how they can incorporate those. So, basically, everything that Jeff just says, but kind of translate it to your small business. So, it could be a situation where you kind of brainstorm for a little bit and just sit down and say, okay, like even
Hmm.
just looking up the basic story elements and then how to relate those. And then you can use trends that are current trends. Trending music is very good to
Oh
like
yeah.
add um as an overlay to your story. It's good to kind of work ahead a little bit and create things and then you could do the music at the last fit. Do you do that with yours?
Sometimes, so I was going to ask you, Peg, when you talk about trending music, because it's different on different platforms. Let's say
Mm-hmm.
TikTok versus Instagram. Where do you go to find that? And I know it's in the book, but where do you go to find the that music that's trending? Like some people may not
I
know.
usually do. I usually go on Instagram. So
Okay.
on Instagram, there's a little section. I don't know if it'll pull up if I don't know if you'll be able to see if I do it. But there's a little section when you're going to post. Um, Actually, I think it was even in my professional dashboard this morning when I was in here. Okay, so in your professional dashboard, so you should have if you're a business, you have a professional account,
Mm-hmm.
and it says professional dashboard. And then you scroll in there, and then at the bottom, in the tips and resources, see where it says trending
Yeah.
audio?
Okay.
So you
Cool.
can just click on that, and then it shows you all the things that are trending right now. So what I like to do is I just kind of give them a listen. If I like it, I just save it. I just save
Mm-hmm.
a bunch in there. If I have something that like today I posted one for my book and I created that actually like a couple weeks ago, but I was like, I love this. But it was like a friend's meme, so that one didn't need extra music on it. It already had the sound. So
Gotcha.
sometimes your things have the sound. So for Instagram specifically, I like to go in and I just look at the trending music in there, and it has them listed. Sometimes, if you hear the song, like if you're scrolling through and you hear the song a second time in your feed, you're like, okay, that's trending. So you can just click on the
Yeah.
Instagram
Right.
post or story itself and save it from there. So I kind of like gather things up as I go, and then the trending audio is only going to trend for like a week ish.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're going to use those, you can use them right away. And if you're creating something on that day, like say today I didn't have sound, but I was going to use, I created my video and I just had it in drafts, and then I would go in and I could add the music today to get something that's like in the top three of trending, because the
Mm-hmm.
trending music really does still help. And the same in TikTok, you can find trending music in there, and also in the CapCut app, you can see
Okay. Yeah.
trending memes and things in there too. So there's a couple different places depending on where you do it. It's a little bit weird because you pick what's trending, and that doesn't. Instagram and TikTok they don't have the same trends because
Right.
obviously they're two separate things, but
Right.
a lot of people are cross posting content between those. So they could be similar. But yeah, that's what I usually do. Is either working on the video in CapCut, or I mean, I create things in a bunch of different places. I have like a
Mm-hmm.
not exactly streamlined workflow
Right.
sometimes, because sometimes you start working on it and then you can't really do what you want. Sometimes I'm working on them in Canva in like a little template in there, but then I don't do my music in Canva because you could do your music in Canva that would just have like nice background music, but you won't have that trending music. So
Right.
sometimes I'll just save it and upload it, and then I do my music actually in the apps because all the platforms love you to use their apps to create stuff. And
Yeah.
I never make the full thing in Instagram anymore because I've had situations where I've seen, I mean, I'm lucky that draft was there today, knock on wood. And also I've had things where I scheduled in Instagram, and then it didn't post, it got frozen, and I couldn't do anything with
And
it.
yeah, you have to delete it.
So it's always dicey when you're trying to,
Yeah, I think that's a good strategy because you are using part of the platform when you tell it it's gonna you want to use this trending audio, so
mm-hmm.
you're using that, and then but you also have the backup that you're creating it on someplace else where you can save it, such as Canva,
Just in
which is really
case, yeah, if I
yeah.
need to like because I
You never
had to
know.
do that a couple times, and thankfully I had the text
Hmm.
outside of there. So sadly, I don't really trust. Do you ever make the whole thing in there?
No, and I actually a lot if it's a long text post for a client or something, I actually will copy it on. I never type it all in the phone. I always copy and paste it for somewhere else,
Right,
just because.
because you don't want
Yeah,
to have eight
it'll go.
typos in it.
Yeah, and then it also just go away, and you're like, I just wrote that whole thing, and it's gone. So
Yeah, and then you got to cry, and you're like, I can't even.
I
It was like
know
the best thing you ever wrote. It disappeared.
exactly, exactly.
I'm always like, it was so. Oh, this is perfect, and then, psh, and
Yep,
you're
it's
like,
gone.
wait, yeah. We've
Exactly.
all been burned a little bit. Um, okay. So, for someone just starting out, what's one actionable step that they can take to tell better stories?
So I think it'd be starting with your story, like your story. Why did you start your business? What makes you, why was this small business attractive to you? It may have been
Hmm.
something like you think is not exciting, like I inherited it from my father, Well, tell his story, like how he started it, or his grandfather. It's been in our business for in our family for 30 years or whatever. But and then what gets you out of bed in the morning besides coffee, of course? But what gets you out of bed? Why do you do what you do? And write it down and then share it, with your audience. Like think of some ways. It doesn't have to be. You don't have to make it perfect and all this, write all this flowery prose. Just tell them why you do it and take
Hmm.
them along with you on the ride. So write it down, share it with your audience. Um, I think this is another Pixar thing. You can start with like once upon a time for a prompt. Like once upon a time I did this, or every day I blank, one
Hmm.
day blank, one day in the life because of what I did. This happens. Like we talked about the flower shop earlier. Like, oh, the red flowers, there was a shortage. We didn't have enough. So we did this instead. And then
Hmm.
until finally this happened, we were able to do this. Like until finally we were able to clean up the bees, and now we have this space just for you guys to come in out of the heat and have your snow cone. So those kind of little frameworks kind of to prompt you to be thinking about it. And the
Hmm.
cool thing is, I know small business owners are the most busiest people in the world, right? They're trying to do a gazillion
Yeah.
things. They're their own marketing department, usually their own service department, all this stuff that the bookkeeping's all them. So I know you guys are stretched for time, but use tools like just like voice memos in your
Hmm.
iPhone. Like if you have
Hmm.
an idea when you're making a delivery or you're doing some packaging stuff or whatever, capture it. You got to capture it because it'll go away and you'll forget how great of an idea it was. And now with this new iPhone stuff that actually will transcribe that, it's just really great for capturing ideas. So throughout your day, just try to be mindful of, okay, how can I tell this story? Or this might be a good story to tell. Or this customer story, she came in and said this, and we were able to do this. That would be something I could talk about for 20 seconds on a vertical video. And start just thinking proactively on how you can do that.
And also, while you're going through your day, just take photos and take
Yeah.
short little videos and just create this little bank of stuff. And then later you can stitch them together. You don't need long videos and it doesn't have to be your face all the time. But
Mm-hmm.
behind the scenes stuff is so great. Like behind the scenes jewelry, like where someone has I saw this girl, she makes like beautiful stuff. She has this beautiful studio. Like it's so great to see people's workspaces. Again, we're a little bit nosy and we like to see people's,
Right.
oh, where did they make that or how do they make that?
Mm-hmm.
So just take some time to like just do little videos. It's a little feels awkward at first to try to create your own, it's called B-roll, to create your own B-roll for things, but there's a lot of tutorials that on YouTube and on TikTok for how to create just some really easy B-roll, and then you could just put text over it, or you could just you know, add a little phrase over it. It's really easy to just create a little bank. If you created a little bank and had like 10 or 15 things in here, you can remix those a ton of different ways. Nobody's going to say, "Didn't I already see that?" Because they're not going to remember. Even
Right.
if you use the same exact clip, 2 weeks later, no one's going to know. So, and if you feel like you're just like you really can't do it yourself, have someone help you, either, someone in your family or someone that, works with you to just help you film a couple of those things and just have them to work with. And you can use them in CapCut or, even in Canva, wherever you like to edit your videos. Canva's just so easy to keep all your stuff in there. I really like it.
Yeah.
Just load all the videos and photos and put them in a file full, and you can create a little folder in there and then just pull them out whenever you're making something. So you don't have to like think, okay, I need to post something today. I need to take a photo. I need to do this. Authors always have tons of photos of their books,
Right.
bookshelves, which just I'm like looking across the room thinking, I never even took a picture of that bookshelf. Like those,
Right.
like
Right.
you get into the habit of like
Hmm.
of doing it and then it gets easier. So,
Yeah, and you don't have to. I mean, you don't have to think about voiceover or whatever. Just even if it's a simple like video of a product, try to get
mm-hmm.
at least 10 seconds. Just hold it there for 10 seconds, so you'll have enough space to do stuff later with. I just
Right.
kind of get in the habit. I always try to like even if I click on my record button, that I at least let it go for 10 seconds, just because I don't know how I'll use it later. So having that
Mm-hmm.
length kind of can save you some agony later.
It seems weird too. 10 seconds when you're recording seems like about two
A long time.
minutes.
Yeah, it does. It really
And then
does.
when you go back to edit, you're like, why is that so short?
Right. Yeah. It's great to, especially if you're doing product stuff or product shots or,
Mm-hmm.
try to, and even if, so if like later on with a video editor, you can give them and they'll love you for that, having a little bit more time. So
Mm-hmm.
just, just try to hold it for 10 seconds and kind of do a little bit of movement, and that will really help you later on.
And you can definitely do it all on your phone too. I mean,
Mhm.
it used to be that businesses had to have everything like perfect and photos had to be perfect. And now it's really kind of like the on the go.
Right. They
There's
love
the
it.
trend of the blurry photos. People are taking like using a traditional camera and the photos have a little blur to them. And
Hmm.
so it's definitely Gen Z definitely likes the real
Oh,
time content.
yeah. And they you're right about. So there's a new thing, and Ecamm gave me one at Creator Camp, but they're those like those disposable cameras that we used to have for
Yeah.
we would use, but they're rechargeable and you can download them digitally. My daughter stole mine because she loves it. She loves taking those pictures because you can't see it until download it and put it in there, and it has this really cool like film effect on it. And so, you know, use what you got. Give those out to your customers or your clients or your workers in your t-shirt shop or whatever, and have them take pictures and have them use it. So it's a really great idea.
Yeah, I saw an article yesterday that was saying that EGC is going to be the new thing for 2025, the employee generated content. So asking your employees to help if I could do that with the company that I work for,
Yeah,
I
it'd
would
be
be
great.
so happy if I
You
have
would love
one
it.
person that sends
Yeah.
me photos
Mm,
out of 22 or 23. Yeah.
that's cool.
So yeah, having people help having employees do it, there's a lot of different ways to create and just create a folder and keep them all in there and just keep reusing them.
Yeah.
Not right out day after day, but just spread them out and
And I would even incentivize them in some way. Like,
yeah,
hey, we're having a
employees for sure.
contest. You can do this. You'll get a bonus or a free gift card or Starbucks, whatever. But
Mm-hmm.
incentivize them to do that. Make it a contest, like you were saying. I think that would be a great way to get them doing it. And
Mm-hmm.
also make sure. And I know Peg's big on this. Make sure you have all the rights and releases that you need
Yeah,
for
for
whatever you
employees.
do. Yeah.
Yeah, because even though they work for you, you're still asking them for the
Hmm.
rights to if they're in the video. If they're
Yeah.
in the video,
Yeah.
I mean, there has been cases where employees have done like TikTok things, and a lot of times they've gotten fired.
Remember that it was a couple of years ago.
Sherwin Williams guy.
Yeah, the paint guy,
Yep.
and he blew up, and then they shut him down, and then everybody was like, "That was the dumbest thing you've ever done," because he was
Yeah.
big and you look like jerks. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yep. The guy liked his job at the paint shop.
he did, he did.
So, so if Walt Disney were creating content on Instagram today, what do you think his strategy would look like?
Walt Disney on Instagram. Well, he's super visual. I think he'd be all in. I think he would have a killer mix because he's got so much content. Like even if you just stay to his classic stuff, like Bambi through like the Rescuers and all the
The
so
rescuers.
I think it would be a killer mix of carousels for storytelling. I think he would show behind the scenes because he loved that.
Mm-hmm.
You remember in the Wonderful World of Disney when he was like building. I still watch the things when he was like building Epcot. He was showing what they were
Yeah.
going to do.
Or he'd say, "Hey, this is Mary. She's one of the
Yeah,
animators at Disney." And
yeah,
she'd go, "Hi." And he'd
yeah. And
go,
it was so
"Show us
fun.
what you're working on today." And she'd be like, "I'm drawing."
Yeah, there's a real famous one where he was talking about the haunted mansion when he was
Mm,
putting that together, and so I think he would be like, I love stop motion that I see on Instagram. I think he'd
mm-hmm.
probably have a stop motion series. I think he would. I think he'd also be commenting people because he's always asked. He was always in the park. He would sit down with employees and ask them like, what could they do better. He would pick up trash himself. He'd see a piece of like a gum wrapper or something, and he'd go and pick it up. I mean, so I think he would be active on Instagram. I think he'd do the DM stuff. I just think he'd make his audience feel like they're part of something magical. Is
He
what I
did
think.
do a great job of really roping you in. I mean, his weekly show was the biggest advertisement.
Oh, I
Families were
know.
dying to go to Disney
He
World.
was genius. And the thing is, all like
This was when everybody didn't go, FYI.
right,
That was before families went on vacations
big
across the
trips.
country
Yeah.
with your whole family.
And the genius thing, this is a little repurposing thing for small businesses. He would did it for the World's Fair first. So like the
Mm-hmm.
It's a Small World ride, and some of the dinosaurs were for I think it was a GM, one of the big cars places. But he took all he paid, they had to pay to build it, and he put it to the World's Fair, and they were sponsors. But then he took it. He took it back and he used it, and then like even the Carousel Project Progress, which is
Progress.
still there, he's he took it from the World's Fair and made it an attraction. Like the company bought it and paid for it, and he took it back. He even took like the sluices where the water goes through for It's a Small World. I mean, he repurposed everything. He was genius in that way. So
Yeah.
I really like Walt for that.
He had a lot of really great skills.
Hmm.
What tools or techniques do you recommend for creating visuals that enhance storytelling?
So I like tools like Canva, which you mentioned. Adobe Express is great because I think that can help you create some really great, scroll stopping visuals, even if you're not a designer. So that's a big thing. It's like I think Canva is in most small businesses toolkits right now. I just
Mm-hmm.
really think it is. I'm a big fan of Ecamm for live video. I think it's storytelling in real time, just kind of like what Peg and I are doing here. We are like bouncing stuff on. Oh, I have an idea, and we talk together. We talk over each other. It's really, I think it's really organic, and I think people really like that, and I think it's going to grow because of the advent of AI, and people want to see and really know their brands and people. So I think it's going to be really cool. But also, don't underestimate the power of AI. I really like Midjourney. Dolly's baked into ChatGPT if you're using that, so you can
Mm-hmm.
make unique images that stand out. So I think whatever tool you're using, the key is to make your visual support the story you're telling, not just to look pretty. Don't just make a
Mm-hmm.
flashy piece of artwork. You want to have it be part of the story that you're telling.
Very good. Have do you have podcasts? You have other shows on AI too, right? So if
Hmm.
people want to
I
check
talk
out
about,
more
yeah,
on
yeah.
visuals
We
for
talk about,
AI, is your class? Are you working on your class for that?
yes. I have the Descript course that's in beta that people still sign up for to help like with repurposing, and it's AI based.
Mm-hmm.
I also have a free using AI to create pins for Pinterest. That's a free
Mm,
course that you can sign up for. I think it's at jeffc.com. But yeah, it's so, and there's another one coming. I'm going to be speaking on it next year a lot. So I'm going to have another little course on
awesome.
AI.
Cool. I think people definitely need that. I started out like when you did, creating images and things, and then I totally stopped. I created some things that I really liked, but it still isn't
But you
there for
still,
like.
yeah, but you still create a lot of cool stuff. I mean, even your Instagram and your branding and stuff
But
that you have in
but
there.
I hardly ever use the AI stuff anymore. So I
Yeah,
would like to
yeah.
get back in there because I had an idea and I was using it. Another writing idea. I was working on a children's book idea and I created
Mhm.
like this really great teddy bear character
Oh, I
that's
remember that.
like,
We worked on it a little bit
yeah,
together.
but then I
Yeah.
don't know how to make it do the same one all the time.
Oh, there's some cool
I
stuff
don't
now.
want to animate my whole book with it, even though I know people have done that. But I
Hmm.
just kind of want to have like the storyboard
We'll
for it,
talk
you know.
after because there's now a character reference you can put in Midjourney, and it will
Um,
keep that character reference throughout
mm-hmm.
your whatever you're prompting it. So it's pretty
Midjourney was
cool.
my favorite. That was the one that I liked the most.
Yeah, it's my favorite too.
I like to go in there. I go in there with my grandson and make characters for the
Oh, that's
game
a
that
good
he
idea.
likes.
Mm-hmm.
Cause he'll like make me a guy, and I'll like make him guys that look like a guy. So
Mm-hmm.
he likes obscure
Well, you know what you
characters.
should do is now make that character and then do a face swap and have his face be in that character.
They don't actually have faces. They're Pikmin. I don't know if you know the
Oh, okay.
Pikmin game.
No, I don't know.
They're just little plant. They're little solid color guys with like plant heads.
Right.
So someone was creative that day.
Yes, they
There
were.
are some people in the game, but that's what he likes the
Mhm.
best. So what's one piece of advice you'd give to small business owners looking to improve their skills right now? Like, what would you say? Okay, they listen to this and they're like, yes, I definitely want to do that. So what would you suggest?
Practice. So just
Mm-hmm.
like riding a bike or mastering, me barbecuing the perfect brisket, storytelling, it gets better with time. You're gonna have to start small. Do it. Say you're gonna do it once a week, right? And it's gonna stink the first time you do it. You're gonna be embarrassed, and you're gonna look back on it later and go, "This is awful." But
Mm-hmm.
try it and be consistent and see how your audience reacts. Do they really like the behind the scenes stuff? They're like, oh, I didn't know you did that. Or so you want to really pay attention to what resonates, and then you kind of want to tweak your approach and then
Mm-hmm.
keep experimenting. And then, every good story has trial and error. I guarantee you, Pixar um, has done stuff and they scrapped entire stories because they didn't think it resonated or was as good as they want. I think there's a famous one. I can't remember which story it was, but they scrapped and like deleted all the rendering that they had done so far on it because when they got together as a group, they talked about it and it was like, this isn't that good. And they
Mm-hmm.
went back and cost a lot more money, but they did
Mm-hmm.
it right. But every good story takes a little bit of trial and error, and I think that's how the best ones are actually made.
And also, when you are coming up with like your main hero story for your business, obviously you're not going to be recreating that. That's going to be like your main thing.
Right.
And then you would just retell that in
Hmm.
different ways. So once you nail down your main brand story, that's going to stick. And
Right.
then you're just building little stories to go around that. So
Exactly.
I hope people really got a lot from this. I thought this was amazing. And obviously, I like talking to you, Jeff. So this was super
This
fun.
was fun. Thank you for having me.
So next week I have Christina Bartold, and we're going to be talking about community. She is amazing, so I'm excited to have her on, and that will be the last one in my pop-up series. So I'll be sharing more from these, and I'll be sharing obviously clips from this, and creating a blog post and a podcast and other things from this live video. So thank you so much to everybody who is watching. I'm going to go back and try to catch the comments, which I didn't see a way to catch them in Riverside. So
We'll see.
thank you very much, Jeff.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. This has been a lot of fun. And
Yeah.
thank
Oh,
you for your
and
book. It's amazing.
you
Yes,
just reminded me. And if you are watching till the very end, my book is available now anywhere that you like to get books. If you waited till it was live, which a lot of people do, people don't really like pre-orders. They like getting it right when they can get it in their hands. So if you order it now, you'll get it very soon, and this will help you with how to market your small business online. So
it's amazing. It's an
thank
amazing
you.
book. It's not a thin book either. It's a thick book. It's
No,
got a
it's
lot of great contents,
pretty
and
big.
there's a great little in the back where you can like references and all sorts of stuff. So it's really really good book. So if you're a small business, you need this book. You really do.
Thank you. Thank you for watching.
Bye everybody.
Bye. Okay, it says it's stopping. Okay.